What has been promised has now come to you. Daʿwat al-Rāfiḍīyah.
Our condolences upon the martyrdom of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. If we look to this personality and character, which is one of the best creations of mankind, and that there will ever be, we would understand the position of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. That's why I'm not surprised that at his end, when he was struck by Ibn Muljim, la'natullah alayhi, that he said, "Fustu wa Rabbil Kaaba," and I have won by the Lord of the Kaaba. Why? Because everything that Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam did, and his main goal and focus was what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to reach the pleasing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will give you a couple of examples to show you the greatness of the man that is known as Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. He was so focused in his worship and did so many deeds that Zayn al-Abidin was Zayn al-Sajidin, and the one that was known to have pains in his body because of his worship, and the ornament of worshippers, said the following thing about Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, his grandfather. What did he say? One time, Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam grabbed the book of A'mal of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. He put it in front of him, and he started to read the A'mal, and he said twice, nobody is able to do these deeds. Nobody is able to handle these deeds. To give you just a glimpse of his worship, that even the ornament of worshippers can't do these deeds, and is in awe of this. Then when we come to Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, his focus, his certainty, he reached, of course, the highest level of certainty and belief. And he had haqq al-yaqeen, which is utter certainty in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and whatever he wills. And that's why we see these in the deeds of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. One time on the Battle of Jamal, one of the Arab Bedouins comes forward and he says the following thing. He says, "O Amir al-Mu'mineen, can you tell me about the oneness of God, or saying God is one? Is this a correct saying?" He's asking Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. But this is in the beginning of the Battle of Jamal. So the people looked to him and said, "Oh man, can't you see? We are at a battle. Our focus is on the battle." Normally people, when they are fighting, their main focus is on how to reach their goal, how to win this war, how to survive this war. But Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam said to them, "No, let this man ask his question. Let this Bedouin ask his question. Actually, we are fighting our opponents on a Jamal about the oneness of God and the understanding of it." And then he said to the man, there are four characters, there are four understandings to this. Two are wrong and two others are correct. When it comes to the correct ones, is to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one in the sense of that nothing is like him. And also that he, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything of his attributes goes back to what? To one. And that he is but one. And that the attributes are not something else. They are not other numbers. This is the correct things. As in the two other things that are incorrect, they are that you don't say that he is one because he can be counted, or he is to be counted in 1, 2, or 3. And then he gives the example of the people in the Quran that say 3 and they do kufr or shirk. And also for the other thing that people say he is one in the sense of he is in his, or he belongs with the creation. This is a part of, and this is incorrect also. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was so certain and so focused that even on the battle of the Jamal, he would answer a questioner about the problems that he had. He did everything to make the society as high as possible. But to be honest, we have not used Ali ibn Abi Talib in the correct way. And even back then, he was not asked the correct questions. One time, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam comes forward and he says, ask me before you lose me. By God, I know every detail about the verses of the Quran. If they were in a valley, on a normal ground, if it was in day or night, and now somebody comes forward. What do you think he will ask Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam that knows so much? He tells him, he wants to mock him. He says, how many hairs do I have on my head? These are the people that surrounded Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, did not use the knowledge of him. And also the oppression that lies on Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, the injustice. You have such a great character that's focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you can grab every information out of it to become a better man, to go and grant yourself paradise. But people did not use it. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, to show you his certainty in another way. One time, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa knew there were spies in Medina, and important information was about to be brought to Quraysh in Mecca. And there was a woman involved in this, and she was one of the spies. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa as the main strategic man, as the most wise man, knew that she needed to be grabbed, and this information needed to be stopped, because this was a sensitive information. So he sent a couple of companions, and one of them is Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And they went forward. They went to this woman, and the companions started to ask, not Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And they asked her, they said, we know that you have something. Give it. Come forward with it. And she said, I swear I do not have it. They looked through her stuff, to her belongings, to the camel she was traveling, and they couldn't find anything. And she made sure to tell them again, I do not have anything. The Sahaba basically gave up. They couldn't find it. Then Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam came forward and he said a very important saying. He does not even blink an eye. He does not even think that something is wrong. He knows that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi ma yantaqa an al-hawa. He will always say the truth. He says, he has not lied to us, and he has said always the truth from his side. And he said to her, O woman, he looked straight to her in serious way, and he said to her, either I kill you or you give me that letter. And she then took it out of her hair and showed him the letter. This is Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. He does not even think about that something is wrong. His certainty is of other levels. And when it comes to his worship, as we said, when it comes to his zuhd, where he has divorced the world in his own sayings, he says, I have divorced you, O world. You mean nothing to me. And then others, where he is a justice to the society, where he will give even to the non-Muslims their rights, where he will be just even to the person that has oppressed him, or that he will be just to a person until he is sure of the case, and then he will in justice show what is to be done. This is Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And that's why Hassan ibn Ali alayhi salam, our second Imam, says, if you want to understand Imam Ali alayhi salam, look to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. He says, you have lost now a man when it comes to his knowledge. Nobody before him has reached this knowledge. Rather, even nobody after him will be like him, like Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. This is the second best that there will ever be after the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. We do not know Ali ibn Abi Talib. We have not focused on Ali ibn Abi Talib. The way that he looked always to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he even says in one of the hadiths that he always remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do we do this? If we want to reach the level where we will be on the side of Imam al-Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu al-Sharif, then we must focus on our deeds. Then we must focus on everything that we do for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I wake up, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving me another day. If I am healthy, I thank Him. I remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every deed that I do. He is always with me. He should be the beloved. If you have a beloved, would you forget about her? What then about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the most beloved? If the most beloved is not by your side and you're not thinking all the time about Him, then is He really the most beloved to you? Think about this one. And when it comes to being too close to Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, we should be focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should be focused on doing the good and forbidding the evil. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam stood for that. And he gave society everything he could. And look how society thanked him. At the end of the day, this is how society treated him. Ali ibn Abi Talib gave everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why I'm not surprised to say to you, oh brothers and sisters, that when it comes to Ali ibn Abi Talib being born in the Kaaba, dying in masjid, and doing sujood, this is one of the closest ways to be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in sujood, as we know. And that he says, I have won by the Lord of the Kaaba. Not only that, that he dies in the best of months, Shahr Ramadan. And not only that, I'm not even surprised that he dies, he's struck on the 19th day. And we know about Laylat al-Qadr, on which days it lies. And he is to be a martyr on the 21st day. It's no surprise to me. And that's why we need to study Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam to understand the great injustice that was done to him and the great character build-up that we can have if we study Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam and look to what he was, and to build this character up in ourselves. We cannot even reach 1%, I tell you, brothers and sisters. But let us try to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have our focus on Him, and understanding His attributes, and understanding His oneness. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam has given everything in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what our goal should be. Peace be upon Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam.